Who's ready for spring break? I hope you guys enjoy your week off. Get this done today so that you don't have to think about it over spring break. This is technically due the day you come back, but if you watch it and do it right away, you don't have to worry about it over spring break. So this is more with parabolas, and we're just going to jump right in because it's just an extension of what we did yesterday. So example 1, let's say we have a vertex of 0, 0 and a focus of 0, 5, and we are going to find the equation for the parabola. Find the equation for the parabola. So the first thing you have to figure out is this going to be a y equals a times x squared, or is it going to be x equals a times y squared? So we got to figure out which one of those it should be. And if you draw a picture, it really helps. So I would do this. Okay, plot what we know. The vertex is 0, 0. The focus is 0, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's your focus. This is your vertex. Remember, the focus is always inside the parabola. So that would mean that it's going to look something like this. And we know that when they open up and down, we are using this one. This one opens up, so what do you know about your A term? A is going to be positive, right? Because we're opening up. So what we're going to figure out here is that this distance, right, the distance from the focus to the vertex is always your C, and in this case, it's a distance of 5. Okay, so C is 5. And we are going to use our famous formula here, A equals 1 over 4C, to figure out then what our A should be. And since we know C is 5, we can just plug a 5 in right here. So A is going to be 1 over 4 times 5. So A is 1 over 20. And like we said, it's positive, it is opening up. So when they ask you to write the equation, your answer, your equation will be this: y equals 1 over 20 times x squared. Okay, so that is your answer. Isn't that kind of lovely? I love these problems. Love them. Example 2. This one, they're going to say, again, find the equation. And they will tell you your vertex is at 0, 0, and your directrix is the line x equals 2. Okay, and again, if you plot it, it makes a whole lot more sense. So let's see what this would look like with a vertex at 0, 0. Okay, so that's my vertex. And then directrix at x equals 2. Do you remember what kind of line that is? X equals is always a vertical line. So 1, 2, a vertical line at 2 would look like that. So that's our directrix. So what we're trying to figure out, first of all, is where would our parabola go? And if it cannot hit the directrix, which it cannot, the only way it could open then would be like this, which means our focus is over here somewhere. And if you look at this setup, the distance to the directrix has to be the same as the distance to the focus. So we're 2 units away this way, which means our focus is going to be right here, and that's going to be a length of 2. Now, it is a distance, so it is 2, but the opening to the left like that, that's the negative. So we're going to call our C -2 for the sake of plugging it in. So a couple things. Because it opens to the left, we know we're using this equation. Okay, and we also now know that our C we're going to use as -2. Okay, distance to the focus, but negative because it opens left. So if we plug this into our formula, 1/4 times C is going to be 1/4 times -2. So that is A is a -1/8. Okay, so we're going to use that, and we're going to drop it in right here for our equation. So our final equation will be x equals -1/8 y squared. And that, my friends, is your answer. They're so fun. So fun. I love it. Okay. Now we're going to switch it up a little bit. Now we're going to do parabolas with a vertex at HK. Do you remember HK? We've done HK. Hopefully that looks familiar to you. HK is your vertex, and we did vertex form in the past. Let's just lay this out again. When you have this equation, y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, remember that was vertex form, versus if you have x equals a, and then things switch here, so this is y minus k, so now k is on the inside, plus our h value on the outside. Okay, so I'm just going to draw you a picture of this because we've already talked about all the other little details that go along with it. But let's say we have this set up. This equation can either look something like this. Let's change colors. So it could look like this, or it could look like this. Okay. Regardless, this point is your vertex, which is HK. Okay, or over here, that would be HK. Okay. And then you will have a focus still, and the focus is still inside, and this length is C. Okay. Versus if we have this setup, for this equation, now your parabolas are going to be sideways. So like this, where this is your HK, and your focus is inside here somewhere, and then the distance between them will be your C. Okay, or we could do it something like this. Okay, open left and open right versus open up and open down. Regardless, we are still using every single time this. A equals 1/4 C. Okay? All right. We are going to do 3 problems like this, and that will wrap up your week, and you get a week off. Well, you should do the homework, but then you get a week off. All right. Example 3. Let's say I tell you that we have a directrix of y equals 4. What kind of line is y equals 4? You're right, it's horizontal. And then we have a vertex of 2, 3. Okay, and they're going to ask you to find the equation of the parabola. Okay, find the equation of the parabola. So let's graph it. I think when you graph this, it just helps you to see what you're looking at. Okay. So the directrix, y equals 4. Remember, that's a horizontal line at 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I missed. Okay. And then your vertex is at 2, 3. So if we plot that, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 would be your vertex right here. Notice what is going on here. Okay. If I have to draw a parabola and it cannot hit the directrix, what way does it have to open? Well, if it's not going to hit the directrix, it's got to open down, right? If I try to open it this way, or I try to open it this way, or I try to open it this way, it's going to hit, okay? So I think, is this going to take all that away? I don't know. You might not have even seen that because I just undid it all, but it's got to open down, okay? So that's my vertex and my parabola and my directrix. So when they open up and down, if you refer back here, we are using this setup, okay? So I know that I'm using y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Well, I know that my vertex is always hk, so I know this much so far. Y equals, I'm going to leave a blank for a, x minus 2 squared plus my k value, which is 3. Okay, so we're almost there. We just have to figure out what a is. And remember what we have not done yet. We have not done our pretty little formula that we use all the time. So the formula, a equals 1 over 4c, right? We got to figure out what c is. Now, if you look up here, the distance to our directrix is 1. So the distance to our focus is going to be 1. But notice we're going down 1. It's opening down, so it's going to be a negative 1 for our c. Okay, so if we plug that in, it's 1 over 4 times negative 1, or a negative 1/4 for our a value. And that number is just going to go right up here. So it's going to be negative 1/4 times x minus 2 squared plus 3. So when they ask you for the equation, that is it. Okay. Example 4. Do you like these as much as I do? I think these are so fun. I love these. I wish you could talk back to me. I miss you guys. Okay. I also miss my life. It is 10 o'clock. 9 o'clock on a Friday night, and I'm writing lessons. This is no joke, you guys. Okay, focus. And I need to focus. The focus is negative 3, 3. The vertex is negative 1, 3. Okay, remember your vertex is h and k, right? And they are going to ask you to write an equation for the parabola. So like I said before, it makes a lot more sense, at least to me, if I just graph it so I can see what's going on. So if we set this up, a focus of negative 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here's my focus. And then a vertex of negative 1, 3. Negative 1, 1, 2, 3 is my vertex. How does the focus relate to the vertex? Answer that question for yourself real quick. It has to be inside the curve, right? So that means my graph is going to look something like this. Okay. So if we're going to write an equation, it's opening to the left. Remember, when it opens to the left, we use this one. So we are using the equation x equals a times y minus x, not x, times y minus k squared plus h. Okay, so h and k get switched, x and y get switched, and this is our setup. Okay, oh, there goes my dishwasher, sorry. So we need to figure out, well, let's just plug in what we know first. Let's plug in what we know. We know x equals, we don't know our a yet, so I'm just going to leave that blank, y minus our k value, so y minus 3 squared, and then plus a -1, so that's just going to be minus 1. So we need to solve for a. Thinking about what we know here, this distance, this is -1, this is -3, so the distance here is a -2. It's a distance of 2, but this is the negative way, right? When we open to the left, we're moving 2 to the left, -2. So we know that our c is -2, so we can do our formula, a equals 1 over 4c, and you just plug that in here. So 1 over 4 times -2 is a -1/8. Okay, and that's what's going to go right here, -1 over 8 for my a value, and that would be your equation. Okay, last one. Can you just like taste spring break right now? Example number 5. All right, let's say we are told that we have a directrix of y equals -2 and a vertex at 4, 3. Okay, so we're going to, again, write the equation. Maybe you try this one. If I were you, I would pause me right now and give it a go. Okay, I'm going to pretend you paused, and I'm going to give it a go, so people aren't sitting around waiting. All right, so if we graph this, y equals -2. That's a horizontal line at -2. 1, 2. I kind of missed it. Okay, so that's our directrix. And then our vertex is at 4, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So our vertex is here at 4, 3. Okay. So think about what we know. When we draw our parabola, it cannot hit the directrix. So if we went down with it, we would bump into that line. If we went to the left, if we went to the right, eventually we would hit. So instead, we're going to need to open up right here. Okay. Now let's think about what equation that would be using. When it opens up and down, that's the original one. It's the one you've seen before. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Okay, and if we plug in what we know, your vertex is always your h and k. So it's y equals, leave a blank for a, x minus 4 squared plus 3. Okay, so we just need to solve for what is a here. And the way we do that is our beautiful formula again. 1 over 4 times c. The way we figure out c is always the distance from the vertex to the focus, which our focus is going to be up here somewhere, but it's also the same distance to the directrix, right? So if we are at 4, 3, okay, so we're up 3 here till we get to the axis, and then down 2 to get to the directrix. So this length is a length of 5, right? We need to go up 5 then to get to our focus. So my c is 5. So when I plug this in, 1 over 4 times 5 is 1/20th. And that, my friends, is going to go right here. And we are done. Happy spring break, but get your homework done first because you don't want to have to worry about that over spring break, and you don't want to at 8 a.m. or before that, at whatever time on Sunday night after a week of not doing this, forget how to do all this. So get it done.